Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm audible. Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, thanks for letting me know. So let us start this session. Good morning. Yeah. So the agenda of this particular session is to, explore all kind of FSM related questions and discussing their solutions and all the theory part which is related to FSMs, like, um, building up an FSM and coming up with the state diagram and flip-flop diagram. Everything is already being discussed. So I will be sharing that particular link. If you are a very beginner to FSM, if you don't know anything about FSM, I recommend you to once go through it. I hope the people joining in this particular session know at least how to draw a simple FSM, right? So we are going to explore problems related to FSMs because most of the people are face difficulty solving problems related to sequence detectors. So majority of people face problems in solving sequence detectors. So let's try to explore problems related to sequence detectors, right? So how many of you are ready? So let we start. Shall we start the session? Yes, recordings will be shared. So shall we start the session? Okay, that's great. Yes. So give me a moment. Give me a second. So yeah, so let's start this session. Let me share my screen. One second. I hope my screen is visible, right? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay, now is it visible? Is my screen visible? Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. So let's start this session. Yeah. So before that, let's once briefly recap what are the different kind of FSMs do we have. So basically, we do have two type of FSMs. One is Mealy FSM, and another is Moore FSM, right? So basically, in the case of your Mealy FSM, your output is dependent upon your present state as well as your input. So here, in the case of your Mealy FSM, your output is dependent upon the present state as well as the input. Whereas in the case of Moore FSM, your output is dependent upon the present state only. It is not dependent upon the input. Okay. So this is nothing but my difference between Mealy FSM and Moore FSM. And in terms of my state diagram, if I want to represent, Mealy FSM is going to look like this. You are going to have different kind of states, let's say S1, S2, and S3. And depending upon your input, you're going to move towards next state. Okay, and this is nothing but my input, and this is nothing but my output. And in the case of my Moore FSM, I'm going to represent my output with respect to my states. Okay, so this is my state and this is my output. and depending upon my input, I'm going to change my state. Okay. Here we are not going to discuss how to design a particular flip-flop and how to represent a state and all that we have already discussed in the previous session, previous workshop when we had. I will also share that particular recording once you can refer it. Okay. Now, I have two terminologies over here. One is present state and another is next state. So we have also seen what do you mean by present state and what do you mean by next state. So present state is nothing but my output of the flip-flop at present cycle, and next state is nothing but output of the flip-flop at next cycle. So this also we have discussed in great detail in the previous session, right? Now, let's try to start with few problems. Let's try to have problem analysis. So grab your pen and paper and you can also do it parallelly. And before that, please let me know my screen is visible, right? My screen is visible, right? And my voice is clear, right? Okay, great, great. Okay then. So let's start with few sequence detector problems. So let's start with basic levels. So I've categorized these problems into multiple categories. So let's start with level one problems. So let's say if I have to detect a sequence, okay, if I'm going to have a particular block which is going to have few inputs, clock, reset, and serial input. Okay. And I'm going to have one output which is known as detected. Now, let's say if your input is going to be provided serially, that means for every clock edge, you're going to provide your serial input. Let's say if you're going to provide 1, 0, 1, here your output should become 1, or else your output should become 0. And in sequence detections also, we have different kind of sequences. One is overlapping and another is non-overlapping. So let's say if I'm discussing about non-overlapping, let's first of all see how your non-overlapping is going to look like. Okay. Now, in the case of your non-overlapping, let's say if this is my sequence 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, like this, if I'm going to get my sequence. Now, if the question is if I want to detect it using non-overlapping sequence, then let's say here my output will be 0, here my output will be 0, up to here my output will be 0, output is 0, and here my output will become 1 because the sequence has been detected. Now, you are not supposed to use the bits which are already involved in previous sequence. That means I'm not going to use this bit for forming 101 sequence. So that's the reason I need to check from this particular bit. So over here, my output will become 1 and here the sequence will be detected. If your question is you are going to deal with non-overlapping sequence, you are not supposed to form this sequence. No, this will be wrong because you cannot overlap with the previous sequence. Okay, if the question is clearly about non-overlapping. But if it's overlapping, then you can create this, you can detect this pattern and you can give your output is equal to 1. But if it is non-overlapping, then you cannot give it. This is equal to 1 if the case is overlapping. So is this clear for everyone? Because many people get confused over between your overlapping and non-overlapping. So these are two kinds of sequences you can detect. Okay, shall we move forward? Is it clear for everyone? Okay, that's great. Yeah, now let me. So our first question is we need to design a Mealy FSM. We need to come up with a Mealy FSM for 101 non-overlapping. So we need to design a particular Mealy FSM for detecting a sequence 101 for non-overlapping sequence. Okay. So you can also do it parallelly. You can also take your time and you can cross verify with my answer. So if you just see it, then it will be a boring session. But if you try to do it with me parallelly, so let's gradually increase the level of difficulty. Okay. So this is very easy level of difficulty. This is just level one. That's it. Okay. Now, so if I want to detect this particular sequence, 101 non-overlapping, let's see how to do it. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have different states. So let's say I'm going to have a state which is known as S1, and let's say I'm going to have one more state which is known as S2, and one more state followed by S3. Now, here S1 is a state where no bits are matching. So S1 corresponding to a state which is no bits matching, and S2 is a state where at least one bit is matching, and S3 is a state where two bits are matching. So this is the state definitions which I have took over here. Okay. And the state encoding and all we have discussed previously. So I'm not going to touch it. Let's say if I'm going to apply reset, I'm going to a state which is known as S1. Okay. So S1 is a state where no bit is matching, and initially I will be in this particular state which is known as S1. Now, in the S1 state, I have two possibilities. One is if my input is equal to 1 and another input is equal to 0. Please let me know whether am I audible, right? Am I audible, right? Once confirm me whether am I audible, right? Is it lagging for others? Everything is fine, right? Yeah. So if it is lagging or if it is, not audible, please let me know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay then. Now, if my input is equal to 1, I can go to H2, or if my input is equal to 1, I need to find out what is the probability, and what is, if my input is equal to 0, what is the next state I need to find it out. Okay. Now, so what is the sequence we need to detect? We need the sequence 1, 0, 1. This is the sequence we need to detect. Now, at first position, I need 1. But let's say at first position, if I'm going to get 0, then it is not matching, right? So that's the reason I'm going to stay in the same state. At the first position, I need to get 1. But at the first position, if I'm going to get 0, I'm going to stay in the same state, and my output will be equal to 0 since the sequence has not been detected, right? Now, let's say if your first position you need 1, and if you are going to get 1, then 1 bit is matching. That's the reason I'm going to H2 state, and my output will be 0 only because your pattern has not been matching. Okay. Now, this has been completed. You have entered into H2 state successfully. Now, what we are going to do, we need to uh, now check for H2. H2 also have different combinations. My input can be 0 and my input can be 1. Now, in this particular sequence, the second bit should be 0. And if we are going to get 0, two bits are matching. So that's the reason I'm going to S3 state. Let's say instead of this 0, if you have got 1 at the second position, then what is happening? At the first position, you got 1, and at the second position, also, you got 1. Then, instead of going to S1, I can stay in S2 only, because by neglecting this bit and by considering this bit, I can start new checking. Okay. So, I can stay in the same state and I can treat it as one bit match. And my output will be still 0. And here also, my output will be still 0. This is my scenario. Now, if I've entered into S3, in S3, I need 1. And if I'm going to get 1, then I'm simply going to S0. I mean S1. And my output will become 1. Why I am going to S1? Because this is non-overlapping. And using this last bit, you are not supposed to form any other sequence. That's the reason you're going to simply S1 state and your output is equal to 1. And even if you get 0 also, let's say if your last bit is 0, then no sequence is getting matched. That's the reason you're going to S1 state. This is a very, very confusing and important point. If you get 1, your sequence is getting matched 1, 0, 1. But since it's a non-overlapping, you cannot use this one to form any other new sequence. You are simply going to S1. And if you get 0, then it is 1, 0, 0. Your sequence is not getting matched. That's the reason you're going to S1 and your output is equal to 0. So this is how we are going to design a melee non-overlapping FSM sequence detector. So is this clear for everyone? Anyone having any queries or any doubts in this? So this is only level 1 or the easiest level which we are dealing now. Any doubts or any queries in this? Great. Great. Okay. Okay. Then let's move forward. And your task is okay. In this particular workshop, I'm going to give you a few ascent. S1 is zero only, right? Yeah, I'm coming to S1 and my output is zero if the sequence has not been matched. Okay. Yes, yes, we are coming to that particular scenario. This is the first case where we have to non-overlapping. And now, let's say if I'm going to get overlapping, let's see the same scenario for overlapping. And using melee only, I'm going to deal it. So using melee. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, let me draw it quickly. S1, S2, S3. And here, if reset is applied, then I'm entering into S1 state. And if 0, I'm going to stay in the same state. And if 1, I'm going to enter into S2. And 1, I'm going to stay in the same state. And 0, I'm entering into S3 state. So up to here, both the FSMs will be the same. There will be no difference. And you are in S3 state and you got the sequence 1, 0. And if you are going to get one more 0, then no sequence is being detected, right? That's the reason you are just jumping into S1 and your output will become 0. But let's say if you got, instead of 0, if you got 1, then your sequence has been detected. Correct. But it's an overlapping. In the case of overlapping, let's say if this is your input sequence, you can detect the 101 and you can use this 1 for forming one more sequence. So that's the reason I'm going to S2 state. If my input is equal to 1, output will become 1. This is the case of my overlapping. And this is the differentiating thing between your overlapping and non. Is this clear for everyone? S2 is 1, S3 is 0, and when S3 got 1, it's coming to S. Is this clear for everyone? This particular sequence? Yes. Okay. Great. So I'm getting few questions from YouTube chat also. Apart from More and Mire, do we have any other FSMs? I don't think so. I haven't seen any particular FSM apart from this Mire and More. Yeah. Okay then. So let's see one more pattern. We will see one more pattern, not 101. Let's see another pattern like 011. We will see with Moore overlapping. And this is the last question in this particular level 1 of problems, right? Now, let's say if I'm going to apply reset and I'm coming to S1 state and it's a Moore FSM, right? So my output will become 0 over here. Okay. Now I'm going to have S2 where my output is equal to 0. And if input is equal to 0, sorry, if input is equal to 1, I'm going to stay in the same state S1. So here S1 stands for no bit matching and S2 stands for 1 bit matching and S3 stands for 2 bit matching and S4 stands for 3 bit matching. And in the case of Moore FSM, I'm going to have one more extra state. Okay. So let's say if my sequence is 0, 1, 1, and in the first position instead of 0, if I got 1, then no sequence is matching. That's the reason I'm going to stay in the same state. Okay. Uh, Instead of 1, if I got 0, then I'm matching with 1 bit. I need first position as 0. I got first position as 0. So I'm going to S2, where it represents 1 bit matching state. Now, in the S2 state, you have already got 0, and if you are getting one more 0, then your sequence is not getting formed, but you can use this 0 for forming this sequence, and you need first position as 0. So that's the reason I'm going to stay in the same state. But if I got 1, then I'm getting 2 bit matching. So that's the reason I'm going to S3 state, where my output will become 0 only. Okay. Now, 0, 1, I'm going to S3 state. Now, if I got one more 0, then what is happening? It's a Moore overlapping. Can anyone tell in my S3 state, if my input is equal to 0, what should be my next state? If I'm in S3 state and if my input is equal to 0, where should I go? Any answers? So the question is, if I'm in S3 state and if my input is equal to 0, where should I go? Exactly, S2. Why we need to go to S2? Because sequence is not getting formed, but you can use this 0 as a starting bit and it is matching with 1 bit. Okay, so I'm going to S2. Okay, now in S3 state, you got 0, 1, and if you get one more 1, then your sequence has been formed. 0, 1, 1 has been formed. Now where should I go? What should be my next state if I'm in my S3 state and if my input is equal to 1? If my input is equal to 1, where should I go? My sequence is getting matched. 0, 1, 1 is being formed. S4 state. Exactly. In Moore FSM, I'm going to have one more extra state, S4 state, and my output will become 1 over here. 1 second. So I'm going to S4 state and my output will become 1 over here. Okay. So let me draw it. It's a little bit messy over here. Okay. Never mind. So my S4 output will become 1 over here. Okay. Now, in my S4 state, I have two possibilities again. So I'm in my S4 state. Let me draw it over here quickly. It's a little bit messy over there. S1 output is equal to 0, S2, S3, and S4. Your output will become 1. Okay. And if you got 0, you have entered into S2. And if you got one more 1, you have entered into S3. And if you got one more 1, you have entered into S4. Okay. 1, you're staying over here. 0, you're staying over here. And if you got in S3, if you got 0, you're coming back to S2. Now tell me, I'm in my S4 state and I have the sequence 0, 1, 1. Now let's say if I got 0, what should I do? What should be my next state? In S4 state, if I got 0, what should be my next state? Great, great. Oh, nice. So I'm simply going to S2 because you can use this 0 as 1 bit matching and you can form your sequence and you're going to S2 state if your input is equal to 0. Great. Now let's say if your input is equal to 1. So instead of the 0, if you got 1, then what should be our next state? Yes, exactly. Correct. So I'm going to S1 state. Is it clear? So this is how I'm going to develop a Moore 011 sequence detection. Okay. Is it clear for everyone? Anyone having any queries in this? Am I audible? Give me a second. So today I don't know why my internet is very slow. Okay, not an issue. So the FSM was clear? Okay, great. Now, so let me share my screen again. Now, let's discuss one more question over here. Now, let's increase the difficulty. So this was very easy level of difficulty. Let's have one more question. Let's say if I want to detect 1101 Murray overlapping. So let's try to understand this particular question. Okay. Now, so how to design this? We want to design a 1101 Murray overlapping. Now, if I am going to apply reset, I'm going to enter into a state which is known as S1 and my output is equal to 0. And I'm going to have one more state S2 and my output is equal to 0. S3, my output is equal to 0. 1, 1, 0, and for lastly final sequence detected, my output will become 1. So these are the states I'm going to have 1, 1, 0, and 1. So for 4 bits, I'm going to have this bits and one more extra state because it's a Moore FSM. Okay. Earlier, we also discussed overlapping only. Does Moore have non-overlapping also? Yes, Moore also we can do non-overlapping. That you can just do it as an asset. So you can try it out 011 with Moore non-overlapping. You can just try it out. Okay. Any other queries? Okay, fine. Now, so let's discuss this 1101 Moore overlapping. So if I'm going to get 0, no bits are matching, I'm going to stay in the same state. I need 1101, but if I got 0 at the first position, I'm going to stay in the same state. But if I got 1, 1 bit is matching. That's the reason I'm going to S2. Now, here in S2, if I got 0 again, then sequence is not getting formed and I cannot use this 0 as the starting bit also. So that's the reason what I'm going to do. I'm going to S1 state because in previous sequences when we were discussing, when let's say 101, 101, if I was getting 1, I want 101, and if I was getting two ones, my sequence is not getting formed. But I can use the second. In the S3 state, if I got 0, I'm going to. In the S3 state, if I got 0, I'm going to S4 state. I want 110, I got 110, I'm going to S4 state. But instead of 110, if you got one more one, then what you're going to do, we can basically stay in the same state because I can reutilize this 2 bits for forming my sequence. So that's the reason I'm going to stay in the same state. If my input is equal to 1, I'm going to stay in the same state. Now, let's say 110 and followed by if I got one more 1. Okay, 110 followed by if I got one more 1, I'm going to S step. Is this clear for everyone? Any doubts or any queries? Up to here, is it clear? Any queries or any doubts? Sorry. Let me erase it. Yeah. Okay. Now is it clear? Now, so we got 1101. We have entered into S. Now let's see about S3 state. In S3, we want 1101, and in S3 we got 1 1. Okay. And if I got 0, I've entered into S4. But if I got 1, I can stay in the same state. Okay. Now coming to my S4. S4 I have 110. And if I've got one more one, I'm going to enter into S5. But if I got 0, my sequence is not getting formed and I cannot use any particular bit to form the sequence 110. Nowhere I can form it. So that's the reason I'm jumping to S1 state if my input is equal to 0. Now, coming to my S5. S5, I have the sequence 1101. And let's say if I got one more one in my S5 and it's an overlapping sequence, so I can reutilize this two ones for forming this sequence. So that's the reason I'm jumping to S3 if my input is equal to 1. Okay. Now, 1101, instead of 1, if I'm going to get 0, I cannot use any bit because I need starting as 1 1, but I don't see 1 1 anywhere present over here in this in this 3 bits or in this 4 bits. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just jumping to S if my input is equal to 0. So, is this FSM clear? Any doubts or any queries in this? Please look into it. Shall we move forward? Yes, S5 with input 0 just we have drawn, right? We are jumping to S1. No, 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 no. The output is not depending upon the present input. Actually, if you go into the logic level diagram and if you see it, then you have an output logic. If you're deriving it, you're not going to have an input term. So, like if you're going to develop the logic using the state transition table and all. And if you want to develop the output logic, in the output logic Boolean expression, you're not going to have any input term. I mean that particular thing. Okay. When you're developing Mealy FSM, in your output logic Boolean expression, you're going to have input also. That is the difference. Okay. Yeah. So let's say um, so you need to have the state diagram first. For drawing your logic diagram, you need to have the state diagram and you need to select your flip flops and you need to come up with your D2, D1, and D0 expressions, Boolean expressions in terms of Q2, Q1, Q0, and your input. And you're also going to find out your output expression. So in the case of your Moore, in your output expression, nowhere you cannot see your input term present. Input term will not be present. Let's say if input is equal to some x, so this x will not be present in your output Boolean expression. But in the case of your melee, in your output Boolean expression, you're going to find out your input term present with Q2, Q1, and Q0 also. Okay. So how to develop a Mealy state diagram and how to develop a Mealy logic diagram and how to develop a Moore logic diagram and how exactly they are differentiating. I've already conducted a workshop. Once you can check it out. Exactly correct. Is it clear for Pavitra and Shashank? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, let's level up the problems. So what is that we have seen? 110 Moore overlapping and 011 Moore overlapping. This is what we have seen. So what you can try it out is just give it a try to this. Just take it as an assignment and keep it a try. Give it a try to 1101 melee overlapping and non-overlapping. Things will be same only. Same analysis and bit easier itself compared to the thing which we have discussed. Okay. And if you want to have a good practice, then what you can do is you can take 3-bit sequence that is from 0000 to 1111 and you can practice melee, Moore, both overlapping and non-overlapping. And you can also take 4-bit sequence from 4 zeros to 4 ones and you can practice melee overlapping and non-overlapping and this is level 1. So with this level 1 problems you will be very comfortable. So if you are getting in any one of the interview then level 1 problems dealing level 1 problems is very easier. Okay. And I hope there is no need to spend more time on this level 1 kind of problems, right? So anyone having any queries in this particular problems? Shall we increase the level of difficulty? Yeah, I will share it in the group and I will share it in the group. Or after the at the end of the meeting, I will share the link. Okay. Yes. So let's increase the level difficulty level. So previously we were discussing about only one sequence detection, where we have only one sequence to detect, right? Now let's have two sequences to detect. For example, if I have 101 and 010, if any one of the sequence is given or both the sequences are given, then I should basically detect my output to be 1. For example, if I'm going to have 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Now 101, my output will become 1, and using this 0, 1, 0, your output will become 1, and 1, 0, 1, your output will become 1. 0, 1, 0, your output should become 1. So like this, we need to detect both the sequences. If 101 is given, your output should become 1, or 0, 1, 0 also given, your output should become 1. Is it clear for everyone? So this is what we need to detect. Not in this particular session. Let's discuss about the designing part in this particular session. Coding will be easier only. Coding, it's not a big deal. If we can able to successfully design this FSM, then coding is nothing but just seeing the state diagram and writing it down. It will be a fixed pattern that we will cover. Okay. Yes. Now here also we have different kinds. Here whatever the pattern which I'm following is overlap. So let's jump into overlapping first, and let's see melee first. Okay. So I need to use melee overlapping, and I need to detect 101 and 0, 1, 0. So I need to detect both 101 as well as 0, 1, 0. Okay. This is my task. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do, let me write it down in a fresh page. So if I'm going to have 101 or 0, 1, 0, I should detect my sequence, and I'm going to use melee. So reset, I'm going to S1 state. Now in S1, if I got 1, I'm going to S2 state, and in S1, if I got 0, I'm going to S3 state, where S2 state represents one bit matching in the sense of in the case of your 101, and in the case of your S3, it is one bit matching in the case of your 0, 1, 0. So here you need to parallelly check for the two sequences. Okay. Previously we were checking for only one sequence. Now we need to check for two sequences, 101 and 0, 1, 0. Okay. That's the reason I'm going to have two different possibilities over here. Okay. Now, let's first focus upon designing or building this 101. So if I'm going to have 0, I'm going to next state S4, and if I got one more 0, I'm coming. Okay, let's say if I'm going to get 1, I'm coming back to S2. Okay. Okay, let's stop over here 1, 0, and let's say in S3 if I got 1, I'm coming to S4. Okay, this is what we have come up with. Now the thing is we are developing an overlapping sequence. So we need to be a little bit careful over here when we are developing an overlapping sequence. Now let's first see about 101. So in 10, I'm in my S4 state and I've got 10. Let's say if I've got one more 0, which state should I go? In my S4 state, if I got 0, which particular state should I go? And my output will be obviously 0. Can anyone tell me where should I go? Waiting for your responses. Exactly. I can go to S3 because I can use this 0 as a starting bit to form the sequence 0, 1, 0. Instead of jumping into S1, which we have done in one sequence detection, I can go to S3, which which I can use to form this sequence 0, 1, 0. Is it clear for everyone? That's the reason I'm jumping to S3. Okay. Now, let's say instead of 0, if I got 1, then where can I go? And it's an overlapping. Think about it and answer. If I'm in S4 state and if I got the sequence 1, 0, 1, then what should be my next state? Okay, okay. Just it's a mistake. That's it. Yes, exactly. So you're jumping to S5 because S5 is a state where you have the sequence 0, 1 formed already. And if you got 1, you're jumping to S5. Is it clear for everyone? Exactly. Great, great. So many are getting the same thing. Now, I've covered everything. And over here, if I got 1, I'm going to stay in the same state. I've covered the upper part, upper portion I've covered. Now coming to the lower portion. So if I got 0, I'm going to stay over here only. Now, in the S5 state, I've got 0, 1. And let's say if I'm going to get 1, where should I go? What should be my next state? If I got 1 over here, and my output will be obviously 0. Now, where should I go? Great. Exactly. S2. Let's say in my S5 state, if I got 0, 1 followed by 0, then where should I go? What should be my next state? If I'm in my S5 state and if my input is equal to 0, obviously output will become 1. Exactly. S4 state. You're jumping to S4 state because S4 state is a state you have 1, 0. You can see right 1 and 0. That's why you're jumping to S4 state. Okay. So is this clear for everyone? How we are designing this melee overlapping two sequence detections? Any doubts or any queries over here? Okay, that's great. That's great. Now let's move forward and let's see Moore. Moore will be really very interesting and confusing. Okay. So let's see what is the confusing and what is the interesting part. If I apply reset, same sequence I'm going to take. S1 output is equal to 0. 0 I'm going to S2 and 1. Okay, let's take this as 1 and this as 0. My output is equal to 0. S3 is equal to 0. 0 staying in the same state. 1 staying in the same state. And 0 I'm going to S4 and my output is equal to 0. And 1 S5 output is equal to 0. Now tell me 1, 0. I'm in my S4 state. And if I got 1, 0 followed by 0, I'm going to S3. That is common in Mealy and Moore. So I'm not focusing upon that. And if I got 1, I'm coming to S2. Up to here, Mealy and Moore both are same. Now the things will get more interesting. So in S4 state, I have 1, 0. And if I get 1, where should I go? I got the sequence 1, 0, 1. Shall I go to S1? Shall I go to S2? Should I go to S3? Where should I go? In S4, if I get 1. Exactly. I'm going to consider a new state, which is S6, where my output is equal to 1. Because in Moore, we are going to have one extra state. In Melee, you cannot see any extra state because you can go back because your output is dependent upon the input. Coming to this sequence 0, 1 followed by 0. If I get 0, where should I go? Should I take one more extra state over here? Yes, it is overlapping. This is overlapping. And if I get 0, 1 followed by 0, where should I go? Shall I take one more state? Or where should I go? What should be my next state? My sequence has been detected. Exactly. I'm going to S6 only. You can take one more state also. It's not a problem, but it is unnecessary. Okay, you're going to have unnecessary one more extra state and you will have unnecessary transitions. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is S6 is a common state where if I get 101 or 010, I'm going to a common state which is known as S6. So up to here is it clear for everyone? Any doubts or any queries? Shall we move forward? Okay, great. Now, in my S6 state, I have two sequences which are being detected. So here the things will be more interesting. So in S6 state, I have two sequences detected 101 and 010 in my S6 state. Now it's an overlapping sequence. If you get 0, your input is equal to 0. What should be my next state from S6 if my input is equal to 0? Is the question. Let's see who can answer this. So it's an overlapping, and in S6, both the sequence has been detected 101 and 010. And if my input is equal to 0, what should be my next state? Is the question. S4 or S3? Okay. Let's see who can answer, who can give the correct answer. S3. Okay. And please remember, it's an overlapping sequence. S6, S3. Okay, great. I'm getting correct answers. S6. Okay. Let's assume that we are going to stay in S6 only. Let's assume that we are going to stay in S6 only. The reason people give an S6 is because you can see, you can form a sequence 010 if your input is equal to 0, right? And where are these three bits matching? That is in S6 only. So that's the reason I'm going to stay in S6 only. And this is not correct. Why it is not correct also, I will explain you. But the reason people are saying this answer, is it clear for everyone? Why people are saying S6, is it clear? Because there are three bits matching. That's the reason I'm going to stay in the same state if my input is equal to 0. Okay, now? Now, why it is not correct? Because if I give one more 0, then nowhere my sequence is getting matched. Okay, so where should I go if my input is equal to 0? Speaking, I should go to S3. From S6, I should go to S3, but there is no path. Okay, so that's the reason. Even you can see forming the sequence 010, you are not supposed to stay in 0 because if you get one more input as 0, there is nowhere you to form. There is nowhere to form a sequence, and you should jump into S3, but there is no path which is available. So that's the reason it will be invalid. So if you follow this FSM and your output will be 1, but your output should be 0, but you will be getting 1 out 1 itself. So that's the reason you should not stay in the same state. Is this clear for everyone? Why should we not stay in S6 state? Is it clear? Great, great. Okay. Now that's the reason what I'm going to do. Even I can see formation of 3 bits sequence. I'm not going to stay in the same state. So I'm going to check for 2 bits matching. Okay, if I get 0, instead of forming 0, 1, 0, 3 bits, I'm going to check for 2 bits. 2 bits is nothing but 1, 0 because it's overlapping, right? I can check for 2 bits. So 1, 0 is nothing but I can go to S4 if my input is equal to 0. Let's say after this, if you get 0, you're going to S3. Things are good and your output will be 0. But if you get 1, you're coming to S6. Fine. Is it clear for everyone? That's the reason you should not stay in S6. If we consider 101, then S6 same state would be fine, but 010 is okay. Okay, we will come to that also. First of all, let me know, is this clear? For 010, is it clear? This is most confusing and people make mistake over here. People make more mistakes over here. That's the reason I'm asking this. Okay. Now, coming to this one, 010. Let me erase this. Okay, this is fine. This was the case when I was getting 0. Now, can anyone tell me, instead of 0, if I am getting 1, what should be 2? Okay, I got 3 answers. What about others? Okay, what about the live stream? Is it disturbing? Okay, S5, S5. Okay, let's see. Let's say you can see the sequence which has been detected 101, and you can stay in the S6. But if you are staying in S6 and if you got one more 1, then sequence is not getting matched. You should go back to S2. But there is no path which is available. That's the reason what I'm going to do is I'm basically not staying in S1 at all. I mean S6 at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to S5. So I'm going to uh, S5 because I have the sequence 1, sorry, not 1, 0, 1. Okay. So where is 0, 1 present in S5? So that's the reason if my input is equal to 1, I'm going to S. So is it clear for everyone? Any queries over here? Yes. So this is most commonly made mistake. So that's the reason I'm taking this particular thing. Yes. Okay, fine. Now you can try it out. Moore non-overlapping. It's very easy compared to overlapping. Moore non-overlapping is straightforward. You should not. There is no need to, perform this kind of analysis. This kind of analysis on, right? Yes. And this was about my two sequence detection. Let's see one more last sequence. Let's say if I want to have 1101 and 1110. Let's take melee overlapping only. Now let's see what to do this. So you can also, but if in 101 sequence, if one given input, then it will be 1011. Then it will go to, okay. So if you got 101 and if you get 1, you're going to S5. So you got 10. Let me reshare the screen. So if I got 101 and if I get one more 1, I'm going to S5 state. Okay. And if I got one more 0, oh yeah, you're correct. Nice observation over here. I haven't also observed this particular thing. 1 second, let me check it out. 101, and if I get one more 1, I'm 101, and if I got one more 1, I got okay, on what basis I've gone 101? Yes. So even this is also wrong. So we should simply go to, let me redraw it. So 101, and if I got 1, okay, great. So I should not go to S5 also. I should just go back to my simply S2 state. Exactly. Let me redraw it again. So reset S1, my output is equal to 0. I cannot erase it. That's the reason. S2 output is 0. S4 output is equal to 0. And if my input is equal to 1, S5, my output is equal to 0. 1, 0 and 0, 1. Now if I get 1, I'm going to S6 and 0, I'm going to S6. Okay. And 1, I'm staying over here. 1, 0, 0, I'm going to S4. 0, 1, 1, I'm coming to S2. Now, if I'm going to get 1, 0, 1 followed by 0, 1, 0 followed by 1, I'm simply going to S2. And if I got 0, I'm simply going to S1. Yes, that will work. Is it clear, Jaideep? Thanks for pointing it out. Okay. So you have a valid reason over here. If you get 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and if you get 1, we are going back to 1. That's correct in terms of 0, 1. But if we see over here, if we get 1, 0, 1, we have entered into S6. And if we got one more 1, we are entering into S5. And let's say if I got one more 1, your sequence is not getting formed at all. Right. So we are entering into S6 and we are making our, if I get one more 0, I'm talking about this particular sequence 1, 0, 1. I've entered into S6, and if I got one more 1, I've entered into S5. And if I got 0, then my sequence is getting 1, 1, 0. So nowhere sequence is getting matched. So I'm entering into S6 and making my output is equal to 1. That is invalid. So that's the reason I'm just jumping into S2 or S4. Is it clear? Yeah. So any doubts or any queries over here? Shall we move forward? And others, anyone having any queries over here? Okay. Now, let's see one more question over here. So what was the question which I've written? 1101 1110. Melee overlapping. So if I apply reset, I'm going to S1 state. And if my input is equal to 0, I'm going to stay in this state only. And my output will become 0. Now, if I give 1, my output is still 0. I'm going to S2. And if I give 0, I'm entering into S1 because no bit is going to match. If I get two number of ones, I'm going to S3. Now, in the S3 state, you got 1, 1. Okay. You have two sequences 1101 and 1110. Right. Now, here the differentiation will start. Okay. If you get 0, you're going to one state. And if you got 1, you're going to one more state. Now, if you got 1, 1, 0, you are entering into S4. And if you got 1, 1, 1, you are entering into S4. Okay. So here you need to be having two different states. Now in S4, if I got 1, 1, 0, and if I got one more 0, then where should I go? In S4, if I am getting 0, what should be my next state? And obviously my output will become 0. 1, 1, 0, 0, what should be my next state? 1, 1, 0, 0, what should be my next state? Hello, am I audible? S1, exactly. You're going to S1 because no sequence is getting formed. Okay. Now, instead of 0, if you got 1, what should be my next state? And it's overlapped. Instead of 0, if I got 1, what should be my next state? And it's an overlap. Waiting for your answers. S2. Exactly. Because, yes, S2. Because I can reuse this single bit. If my input is equal to 1, I'm going to stay in that. I'm going to S2. And what is my output? My output will become 1. Now coming to this 1, 1, 1. And if you got 1, 1, 1, and if you got one more 1. In S5, if I got one more 1, where should I go? What should be my next state? If I'm in my SY state and if I got 1 1 1 followed by another one, what should be my next state? No, no, no. Triple one. 1 1 1. Triple one is present in S5 only now. So you're going to stay in the S5 state itself. And your output will be 0 only. Okay. You can see triple one in S5 only now. So that's the reason you're going to stay in S5. Exactly. Okay. Now, let's say if you got 0 in the S5 state, then your sequence is getting matched and your output will become 1. And when I'm going to 1 1 1 0, I can use this 1 0 now. Can I use this 1 0? No, I cannot use it. I cannot zero. I can use 0. No, I cannot use it because both the sequences are having 1 1 at the starting position. I cannot use 1 0. I cannot use 0 at the starting position. So I'm jumping to S. If my input is equal to 0, my output will become 1. So this is how we are going to develop a Mealy overlapping for this sequence. Any doubts over here? Shall we move forward or shall we wrap up this session? Shall we do one more level of problem or shall we wrap up? Why it will go to S3? Triple one. You have 1 1 1, and if you get 0, how it is supposed to go to S3? S3 is a state where two bits are matching now. Where are the two bits? You need 1 1 or 1 1 0. Okay, okay. We had 1 1 0, right? Okay, okay. Fine, fine. 1 1 0 is present in S4. You are going to S4. Yeah, 1 second. You can go to S4 state. If my input is equal to 0, output is equal to 1. No, no. So here we got 1 1 1, and if I get 0, I can, my sequence is getting matched, and I can use this 1 1 0 because my sequence is having 1 1 0. So I can simply go to S4 state 1 1. I can use this 1 1 0 and I can go to S4 state. Let's say if I'm going to get 1 when I'm in my S4 state, I got 1 1 0 1, and I'm going to S2 and my output is becoming 1. You can see. And let's say instead of 1, if I got 0, 1 1 0 0, no sequence has been matching, I'm going to S4 state. So the option is S4 is correct itself. Okay. Because if you are in S5, you got 1 1 1, and if you get 0, your sequence is getting matched and you can reutilize this 3 bits 1 1 0, which is matching with S4. Yes, great. So is this clear for everyone? Anyone having any queries? Shall we move forward? Okay. So I think we can wrap up our session over here. And we do have so many kind of FSM related problems. If possible, let's have one more live tomorrow and we can discuss the remaining set of problems tomorrow. Okay. Mostly tomorrow also the same timing, 11 a.m. We can connect it and we can have the discussion. Okay. Yes. So that's about this particular session. Hope this particular session was useful and hope you have got some insights of how to deal with FSMs. Yes. And yeah, we will try to increase our level of difficulty and we will try to discuss more problems in our tomorrow session. and I will also share the session one link which I was talking about, so you can once look into what how to come up with this FSM and all. Okay. Yes. So if you have any doubts on any of the queries you wanted to discuss, you can stay and discuss, or else we can wrap up the session. Okay. Thank you.